The finalists for Best Illustrated and Art Book are Visions of Beauty, edited by Diane Borsini-Burr, art by Kanuko Y. Craft. Paintings and Drawings by Rowena, by Kim de Mulder, art by Rowena. The Keeper by Tananarive Du and Stephen Barnes, art by Marco Finnegan. In the Black Fantastic by Echo Eschen. Spectrum Fantastic Art Quarterly Volume 2 by Kathy and Arnie Fenner. Chivalry by Neil Gaiman, art by Colleen Duran. The Night Eaters Book 1, She Eats the Night by Marjorie Liu, art by Sana Takeda. Mother Christmas Volume 1, The Muse by Valia Dudic Lupescu, art by Vic Terra. Animal Farm, A Fairy Story by George Orwell, art by Omar Ryan. Creature, Paintings, Drawings, and Reflections by Sean Tan.
Good evening, Locus. Thank you for having us tonight at the awards. We are so pleased and grateful. So grateful. Thank you, Neil Gaiman, for letting me adapt your wonderful story. You know how much I love you, and you know how much I appreciate you allowing me to beg over low these many years that I don't even want to admit how many years I begged for the opportunity to work on this. I'm so grateful, as you know. I love you to death. I can't believe I'm even allowed to be on the same planet as artists as wonderful as Sean Tan and Omar Ryan and Kinaka Craft. I worship the ground she walks on. Being able to even be in the same category as these wonderful creators is such an honor. Thank you to our publisher Dark Horse, our editor Daniel Chabon, my co-letterer on this book Todd Klein, our designers, and to everyone who showed us your love this evening. We're incredibly grateful and honored. Thank you so much.
I was so thrilled to learn that Chivalry had won the Locus Award, and I felt it was incredibly well deserved because in the case of this award, I truly feel it has nothing to do with me. I wrote a short story 30 years ago, but it was Colleen Doran who kept faith with the story, who always told me that she wanted to adapt it, who waited until the rights finally became free and then went off and did the most glorious and beautiful adaptation possible. All I did was tell her how good it was, and I really feel this award is for Colleen. But thank you all.
The finalists for Best Artist are Tommy Arnold, Ravina Kai, Kanuko Y. Craft, Galen Dara, Julie Dillon, Bob Eggleton, John Picacio, Sean Tan, Charles Vess, Michael Whalen.
Good to see all of you here. Wish that I could be at this event. So I've been an artist making my living off of my art for 50 years now, and I've just built a studio. I'm surrounded by books and art, and I can look out my windows and see rolling hills and a broad river down below, and it feels like some sort of validation on that career, as does this award. So especially since it comes from artists and writers that I call my friends and I call my community. So it's good to be here. Thank you very much.
The finalists for Best Nonfiction are The Rise of the Cyberzines, the story of the science fiction magazines from 1991 to 2020 by Mike Ashley. Fantasy, How It Works by Brian Atterbury. An Earnest Blackness by Eugen Bacon. Queering SF Readings by Rich Calvin. Bridging Worlds, Global Conversations on Creating Pan-African Speculative Literature in a Pandemic by Ogenichoe Donald Ekpeki. Charting the Afrofuturist Imaginary in African American Art, The Black Female Fantastic by Elizabeth Carmel Hamilton. The Visual History of Science Fiction Fandom, Volume 2, 1940, by David Ritter and Daniel Ritter. Keeping It Unreal, Black Queer Fantasy and Superhero Comics, by Derek Scott. Stephen King, A Complete Exploration of His Work, Life, and Influences, by Bev Vincent. Terry Pratchett, A Life with Footnotes, The Official Biography, by Rob Wilkins.
Wow, thank you, Locus. Thank you, everyone. What an incredible surprise. What an incredible honor. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Terry Pratchett won many awards during his illustrious career, but a Locus Award always held a special place in his heart, and I promise you this will remain in a special place in my own, so thank you. But it's bittersweet, because really I should be out there with you celebrating Terry Pratchett winning this for his own autobiography, but that wasn't to be. I'd like to thank my publishers, my wonderful publishers, and to all of my contributors. Thank you so very, very much. And to Terry's family and to my own loved ones, without whom, well, there's nothing. But above all, I would like to dedicate this win to Terry. Thank you, Terry. Without you, there is no life to Footnote. We miss you more every day. Thank you, and thank you, everyone.
I don't know. That's why I'm asking. That's what editors are for, to gently guide us to the best versions of our words. They work at the cross-section of emotion and professionalism, where our tenderest, most precious ideals are exposed to the bracing air of public readership. All writers know that we owe them our careers, from the editor who first published us to the one who first urged us to be our truest, freest, and best self. We are so grateful for your labor. Here are the nominees for the Locus Award for Editor.
The finalists for Best Editor are Neil Clark, Ellen Datlow, Ogenichoe Donald Ekpeki, Arlie Sorg and Christy Yant, Jonathan Strawn, Lynn M. Thomas and Michael Damian Thomas, Cherie Renee Thomas, Anne and Jeff Vandermeer, Wendy N. Wagner, Sheila Williams.
And the Locus Award for Editor goes to Ellen Datlow.
Thank you so much for honoring me with the Best Editor Locus Award this year. I appreciate all your votes. I love you all. I wish I could be there at the banquet, but at that time, I'm going to be with my mom in Boynton Beach, Florida, celebrating her 96th birthday. But thank you again. I really appreciate the award.
I guess none of us were invited to her party. That's fine, we all have very full lives. Up next, we have Publisher. No one wants to see how the sausage gets made, and yet somehow it does. Book after book, year after year. All thanks to companies full of passionate, smart people who manage everything from the sales, marketing, production, publicity, operations, finance, and subrights. And listen, I don't know every division in a publishing house, but you get the idea. It takes a lot of people, or it takes few people doing a ton of work. And for that, and for all our favorite books that you have made into things that we can hold in our hands or read on our tablets, we salute you. First, to present the nominees and the Locus Award for Publisher is the head of partnerships at Locus Magazine, Shweta Tanesha.
Hi everyone. As publishers, we writers mostly love them. Sometimes we really hate them. But there's no getting away with them. They're an important part of our lives. So I'm really, really thrilled to present this award. And here are the nominees.
The finalists for the Locus Award for Best Publisher are Angry Robot, Gallants, Harper Voyager, Neon Hemlock, Orbit, Small Beer, Subterranean, Tachyon, Tor, Tor.com.
And the winner is, any guesses, guys? Should we play? Anyone into betting here? Okay, let me find it. Wow. And the winner is Stars.
Hi, this is Devi Pillay, the publisher of Tor, and I just want to say thank you so much for this amazing award from Locus for Best Publisher. We are over the moon, and we couldn't do without all of the readers and the support that we have from everyone in the community. We also want to thank the authors and the agents and say thank you again to everyone.
Up next, we have magazine. Every day, articles with criticism, reviews, lists recommending reading, short stories, and trade news are published. And whether they're bound into paper artifacts or not, we have the hardworking employees of the magazine to thank for them. So often, new voices get their starts in these venues, and increasingly, voices we've historically ignored are recognized by them. I know I have personally reaped the benefit of magazine coverage. Without it, I would not be hosting this Fine Awards show today, so I owe them my thanks. And I guess you have the magazine coverage to blame for me hosting this award show today. So no one's perfect. Anyway, to present the nominees and Locus Award for Magazine is Shweta Taneja again.
I love magazines, and I love magazines, can't say anything being with Locus, so, well, here are the nominees for the finalists for the Best Magazine.
The finalists for the Locus Award for Best Magazine are Apex, Asimov's, Beneath Ceaseless Skies, Clarkesworld, the Magazine of Fantasy and Science Fiction, Faya, Light Speed, Strange Horizons, Tor.com, Uncanny.
Okay, I like suspense stories, as you can see. I'm going to sit and try and see if somebody like to guess.
European magazine.
Oh, that's a good guess, Rob. Okay, and the best magazine goes to Tor.com. We don't have a video from those guys, so I would like to thank Tor.com on behalf of Tor.com. Thank you to all the voters for them, and congratulations to the fantastic team. I'm sure it's really, I love Tor.com. Thank you very much.
They were going to send in a video about the recommended reading list based on the Yellow Jackets characters that I wrote for them, but it was too long. Up next, we have collection. I've probably had about one or two good ideas in my entire life, but I can't imagine having like 20 of them in a row and encapsulated in a single collection. What an extraordinary accomplishment to fill a whole book with short stories. What an extraordinary undertaking to force yourself to keep pushing in new and novel directions, or to collect the body of your own work in a single volume. Here we celebrate some of our greatest authors as they exist in their own imaginations, varied and multifaceted. Here are the nominees for the Locus Award for Collection.
The finalists for the Locus Award for Best Collection are Dark Breakers by C.S.E. Cooney, Memories Legion, The Complete Expanse Story Collection by James S.A. Corey, Night Shift by Eileen Gunn, Breakable Things by Cassandra Kaw, Geometries of Belonging by R.B. Lemberg, Boys, Beasts, and Men by Sam J. Miller. The Memory Librarian and Other Stories of Dirty Computer by Janelle Monet et al. Illuminations by Alan Moore. Our Fruiting Bodies by Nisi Shawl. The Best of Lucius Shepard, Volume 2 by Lucius Shepard.
And the winner of the Locus Award for Collections is... really hard to get out of the envelope. Boys, Beasts, and Men by Sam J. Miller from
Hello from the surface of Jupiter. Really sorry I couldn't be there with everybody. Thank you so much for voting for this for the Locus Award. I'm a huge fan of Locus. It's so important to the science fiction, fantasy, and horror community. I thought for sure this award was going to go to Janelle Monet, but I'll take it. The entire team at Tachyon made this entire book and the process of making it amazing and fun and special.
Let's try another time.
I owe a big thank you to the amazing Gabby Silver, a tattoo artist who put an amazing King Kong on my shoulder to celebrate this book. Immense gratitude to my agent Seth Fishman. This award, like the book itself, is dedicated to my best friend Waleed Esmail and my mother Deborah Miller, two great writers who made me first fall in love with everything you can accomplish in a short story. Finally, and forever, and above all, a big thank you to my husband Wansi, the man who holds the camera, and my husband.
Locus also likes to recognize publishers, and so we would like to welcome to the stage Jacob Weissman of Tachyon Books.
Do I still have to say any words, or?
Well, this is quite a delight and a surprise. This award belongs entirely to Sam Miller, who is a wonderful writer and very deserving. And this is great. We should do this more often.
Anthology. Like an ensemble cast, an anthology offers us star performances from whole groups of people at once, which is rad until you think about the poor unfortunate souls who had to wrangle them. Whenever I try to imagine managing an anthology, I remember what it's like to try to feed my 3-year-old son and 7-month-old daughter dinner at the same time, and my blood runs absolutely cold. Nevertheless, these brave souls do it, and we reap the benefit. Here are the nominees for the Locus Award for Anthology.
The finalists for the Locus Award for Best Anthology are The Way Spring Arrives and Other Stories, edited by Yu Chen and Regina Kanyu Wang. The Best Science Fiction of the Year, Volume 6, edited by Neil Clark. Screams from the Dark, edited by Ellen Datlow. The Best American Science Fiction and Fantasy 2022, edited by Rebecca Rowanhorse and John Joseph Adams. Some One in Time, Tales of Time-Cross Romance, edited by Jonathan Strawn. Tomorrow's Parties, Life in the Anthropocene, edited by Jonathan Strawn. Africa Risen, A New Era of Speculative Fiction, edited by Cherie Renee Thomas, Agenichoe Donald Ekpeki, and Zelda Knight. Trouble the Waters, Tales from the Deep Blue, edited by Cherie Renee Thomas, Pan Morrigan, and Troy L. Wiggins. The Best of World SF, Volume 2, edited by Lavi Tidhar. The Future is Female, Volume 2, The 1970s, edited by Elisa Yasik.
And the winner for the Locus Award for Anthology is Africa Risen, a new era of speculative fiction. Edited by talented writers.
Go ahead.
This is the worst of all worlds. Edited by Cherie Renee Thomas and Ogunechokwe Donald Ekpeki and Zelda Knight, out from Tor Books.
On behalf of the 33 talented writers whose original stories are Africa Risen, thank you for this wonderful honor. Many thanks to my co-editors, Ogunechokwe Donald Ekpeki and Zelda Knight, to our agent, Christopher O'Higgins of Scribe. Thanks to our great editor, Emily Goldman, our publisher, Ira Gallo, and the Tor.com publishing team. Thank you to all of our readers, the jurors, the voters, and Locus Magazine. It was our hope that these stories would touch all who read them. May grace carry you and this exciting creative moment on into futures yet imagined. Thank you.
I'm so happy to be here. Thanks to everybody, the entire Total Core team, for publishing, for helping make sure that the anthology gets in. Thanks to all the readers, reviewers who helped recommend and read the large number of stories in the book. Thanks to all the amazing contributors for providing us their words and their stories to be able to create an amazing book like this. Thanks to my fellow co-editors, Cherie Renee Thomas and Zelda Knight. Cherie for blazing the trail, for being the trailblazer, for showing us the path. And thanks to everybody.
I want to thank you so much for this amazing, amazing award. I want to have a special shout out to my co-editors, Cherie and Ogunechokwe, all of the authors inside the anthology, Africa Risen, as well as our publishers and the team that made this possible, and especially you, if you read the book and shared it and were excited about it. We love uplifting more African diasporan voices, and this award is just the icing on the cake. So once again, thank you.
Hi again. Whew, okay, there's some technical difficulties. We're not on YouTube. We spent so much time working to try to get on YouTube. We are on Zoom. It's not perfect, but we're learning. We're learning how to do this thing. This is our first time live and streaming at all, so next time we're going to have this all figured, no problems at all, right? That's how it works. A few years ago we started doing is that light been going on and off the whole time? Yeah. That's fun. It's like you guys are doing the wave, but we're not able to move. I'll see what I can do about that. A few years ago, we started giving away a special award for people who were working toward building a better science fiction fantasy horror community. And we glamorously and elaborately call it the Special Award. And tonight to present that award is our managing editor from Locus, Kirsten Arwong.
This year's award goes to the Carl Brandon Society. The Carl Brandon Society began in 1999 in response to a glaring need for improved inclusivity in genre spaces. The organization was named after a fictional black fan writer, a made-up individual created by two white writers. As they say on the Carl Brandon site, the existence of a lone fictional black writer underscored the fact that a fictional voice had to be invented for people of color. The explicit goal of the Carl Brandon Society has always been, among other things, to make fandom and other genre spaces more rewarding spaces for people of color. And that's exactly what they've done. By creating awards like the Parallax Award and the Kindred Award, scholarships like the Octavia E. Butler Scholarship, setting up events like the upcoming workshops with Suni Davies Okambawa, supporting books like Ex Marginalia and Bloodchild, holding gatherings for people of color at a number of conventions, and much more. For their fantastic efforts, we are proud to recognize the Carl Brandon Society for the Locus Special Award 2023 for developing diversity in genre communities. Thank you so much for all you've done for the genre.
Heck yeah! It's my great honor to accept this award on behalf of everyone at the Carl Brandon Society. We were so excited to be recognized. For over 20 years, we've worked tirelessly to generate scholarships for people of color, and we think that that's had a pleasing effect on the genre as a whole. We'd like to give a huge thank you to everyone who supports us, and we especially want to give a shout out to Lori Edison, who makes the wonderful owl pendants we hand out to our scholarship winners every year. Like the authors and artist communities we support, our work has gone a bit undernoticed and underappreciated, so this recognition is a huge deal for us. On behalf of the entire Carl Brandon Society, thank you for this wonderful honor. It's given us something huge to celebrate!
I fixed the light, guys. One win, I get one win, right? So for a really long time, you all know about Connie Wells, right? Like she's one of the she's a fantastic writer. What did they call you? A national treasure. Who was the Wall Street Journal? The Wall Street Journal, is that right? Reviews just came out. Called her a national treasure. Yay! Her new book. We're all going to book, and she waited for forever. So you know that she's a fabulous writer, and she's won all these awards. And maybe you know, but she has been such a huge support for Locus. She has come out, she's hosted or emceed the Locus Awards for us for decades, right? At least for the 20 years that I've been working at Locus, she's been doing it. And I don't know how long before that Charles Correll Jr. was doing it, but she's been really wonderful. She's been a huge support. She's always there for us. And she's one of my favorite people. And so if you didn't, she's like smart. And she's witty, she's wickedly funny. And if you didn't already know that, well, you're about to find out because she's our special guest speaker. So please welcome Connie Wells.
Hello. Hi, everybody. Okay. So I am so excited to be back at the Locus Awards in person. Thank you so much for inviting me. I have so many memories, happy memories of the Locus Awards, of the early days in the wilderness when we held the Locus Awards at any convention that would have us. And about 10 people would show up, and including the Locus staff, and the presenters, and the nominees. And then we had this one year at DragonCon, we had this huge crowd, and we were all just thrilled to death. They were oddly dressed. They were all wearing black leather and fishnet with bangs, and we didn't quite get it, but you know, it's a science fiction convention. So we were so excited until when we began giving the awards, they started shouting, "Get off the stage! Get off the stage!" And it turned out that they were all there for the Betty Page look-alike contest. I remember the year that the Merry Pranksters, John Varley and Ursula Le Guin, who you know for their Merry Pranksterism, decided that all of the writers should wear Hawaiian shirts to make Charles mad, because he never wore anything but Hawaiian shirts. Only he loved the idea, and from then on he made everybody wear Hawaiian shirts. And then there was the year that Charlie decided that we should give an award for the best Hawaiian shirt, and we didn't have an award. So he grabbed a banana off the Hotel buffet and made all the writers sign it, and we gave it as the special award. We called it, of course, the Top Banana Award. And the winner, who I believe was John Barley, promptly ate it, thus diminishing its value as a prize. So then the next year we told the winner not to eat it, please, and that it was valuable with all those famous names on it. So he put it in the refrigerator, where it turned black and we couldn't read the names anymore. And so from then on we have used plastic bananas. So this year's winners of the second banana award, we don't give a top banana award, we just give the second banana award. So this year's winners of the second banana award are, the first one is Isabeau Wills for endless generosity and time. She has allowed us to have her house for holiday parties, volunteered at the office, given us moral support during all sorts of crises, is a great floral arranger, and this morning gave me food from Starbucks, which was really important. Please do not eat it, and do not eat it.
All I can think of when I see a banana is ring, 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 banana phone.
Thank you. Our second banana, what is the second banana? Second banana squared, goes to Fran Wild.
Is she still here? Maybe
Fran. Anyway, to Fran
she
Wild.
left. She left. She left.
Already a friend of Locus, but who with her generous donation is now an official friend of Locus. And you too can be an official friend of Locus. So congratulations to both our winners, and please do not eat the banana. Do not put the banana in the refrigerator. You may sell it on eBay if it's probably not worth anything, but oh well. So, okay, moving on. Okay, so the person who started the Locus Awards, as you have heard, was Charlie Brown. Well, he was Charles N. Brown, and he actually hated being called Charlie Brown because of the whole Peanuts thing. And the thing I consider to be the greatest mark of our friendship is that I could never remember ever to call him Charles, and I always called him Charlie, and he never yelled at me for that. He yelled at me for everything else, but he never yelled at me for that, and I do consider that wonderful. Charles started Locus in 1968, and he took it from being a single mimeographed sheet. I know that you youngins don't even know what a mimeograph machine is, but it's just as well. Charles took it from one smeared inky page to the slick full-color magazine that it is today. Science fiction's signature trade magazine, which reports on publishing news and conventions and other happenings in the world of science fiction, interviews science fiction writers and reviews their books and magazines and short stories, and does their obituaries, which that has become of great interest to me lately. So, I have tons of happy memories of Charles, too. His making me drive him to Portales, New Mexico every year for the Jack Williamson lectureship, and being such a terrible backseat driver that I threatened to tie him to the top of my car. His making me drive him up Mount Hood one time at a science fiction convention in a car that I had borrowed from my brother, which had bad brakes. And Charlie kept saying, "It'll be fine, it'll be fine." And it was fine. Until we started down Mount Hood. And the brakes kind of overheated. Charlie's making me go with him to a ranch in Australia where I was nearly killed by an emu, who I could not get the bag of emu food open fast enough for the emu. I still bear the scars to this day. So many happy moments with Charlie. Charlie loved Hawaiian shirts and opera and Native American pottery and Buffy the Vampire Slayer, not necessarily in that order. And he loved giving advice. And this is a serious part of my speech. The thing I remember most about Charlie is all the terrific advice that he gave to me about my writing and my career and my life. He saved me through several rough patches, and he never gave any advice to me that wasn't really, really good. And I will love him for that forever. Even though I still would tie him to the top of the car. So I thought in memory of Charlie, it would be appropriate if I continued the tradition and gave you guys some advice, gleaned from the vast trove of wisdom that I have acquired from being a national treasure. So here goes. 1, do not have anything to do with bats. Do not touch them. Do not try to catch them. Do not pet them or hug them or cuddle them. Do not pick them up, even if they are dead. I speak from experience on this. In 2015, right before the Locus Awards, I was bitten by a bat. And no, I did not try to pick it up. I was asleep at the time. Kind of a Dracula Mina kind of thing. And I had to go to the hospital and have the rabies vaccine, and if the public health department hadn't been able to catch the bat, I would have had to have all 6 weeks worth of the rabies vaccine, which are no joke. I have already warned everybody at the Locus Award repeatedly about bats. And I would not bring it up now, except that I just read an article online about how people are building bat boxes to entice bats into their yards. No, don't do this. The article says bats are good for the environment and harmless and cute and catch mosquitoes and don't bite anyone unless they're provoked. And I say, you're kidding, right? They're bats, okay? Which brings me to number 2, my number 2 piece of advice. Do not believe everything that you read on the internet. No, Starbucks is not introducing a new size latte, the Cento, which is 100 ounces, or 3 liters. And no, they are not introducing a new avocado toast frappuccino. No, King's College in Cambridge, which is, famous for their voice fires, is not replacing their voice sopranos with adult males who have inhaled helium gas. And no, Gwyneth Paltrow's "This Smells Like My Vagina" candle does not smell like her vagina. Well, I guess it might. But there's no way to prove it unless you know Gwyneth personally. And how would she know? That's my question. I thought a lot about this. Anyway, her "This Smells Like My Vagina" candle may or may not smell like her vagina, but her psychic vampire repellent spray definitely does not repel vampires. In the first place, is it the repellent that's psychic, or the vampires that are psychic? And if the vampires are psychic, wouldn't that render the repellent useless? I probably spend too much time on Gwyneth Paltrow's site. But number 3, do not believe any ads that you read on the internet or see on TV. Especially don't believe those cruise ship ads showing people standing on deck, sipping cocktails, and gazing at the sunset over the sea. This is not what cruises are like. Cruise ships set sail in spite of forecasts of stormy weather, and then have to evacuate everybody to the hospital because they have been hit by buffet tables or potted plants or grand pianos. They fall over on their sides and crush their passengers beneath them, or they catch fire and the crew abandons the ship, or the passengers fall off and drown, or get COVID or norovirus or Legionnaire's disease, or, like last week, jump off them on a dare and get eaten by a shark.
Oh no!
That was one of those where I have genuinely mixed feelings about life. If you feel you absolutely have to take a cruise, do not take the vampire cruise. Unless, of course, you have stocked up on Gwyneth Paltrow's psychic vampire repellent spray. Or the Meow Meow Cat Lovers cruise, on which oddly no cats are allowed, but they wouldn't go anyway because cats have more sense than that. Or the How to Make a Fortune Investing in Cryptocurrency cruise. I am not making any of these up, by the way. Above all, do not take the Flat Earthers cruise. They are planning to travel, I am not making this up, to the Antarctic to see the edge of the Earth and the ice wall that keeps ships from falling over the edge, thus proving that the Earth is flat. If you go on this cruise, not only could you fall off the edge of the Earth, in spite of the ice wall, but long before you ever got there, you would have jumped off because you were stuck on a cruise with a bunch of people who believe the Earth is flat, and you will have been eaten by a shark. Piece of advice, I don't see any of you writing this stuff down. I have worked hard on this. Piece of advice number 4. Don't believe those medical ads on TV. You know, the ones with all the happy people out there strolling through the park, and they're eating ice cream cones and flying kites, petting puppies. And on the crawl underneath it says in teeny tiny print, warning, side effects may include rash, dizziness, nausea, migraines, projectile vomiting, diarrhea, high blood pressure, varicose veins, hemorrhoids, blurred vision, irreversible joint damage, pneumonia, heart attack, stroke, cancer, diabetes, erectile dysfunction, schizophrenia, tuberculosis, scrofula, suicide, kidney failure, ruptured arteries, collapsed lungs, exploding pancreas, brain tumors, bleeding from the eyes, and uncontrollable urge to jump off a cruise ship. You should always read the fine print on anything. Like, did you know that Gwyneth Paltrow's vampire repellent spray contains, I am not making this up, black tourmaline elixirs, sonically tuned water, bloodstone, Reiki sound waves, and moonlight. It also has a warning on it that says harmful if ingested, sprayed, or inhaled. Consult health practitioner before using, especially if you are pregnant or nursing, not FDA approved. And speaking of warnings, one of my favorite pastimes when I have nothing else to do is to read the warning labels on things. Like, I bought this big cardboard Santa, you know, the kind that you just tape to the door, you know, for Christmas. And it's the Coca-Cola Santa, you know, the big Santa. The warning label says, do not hold over open flame. And the last time, like, my dog had a prescription, on his bottle of pills, it read, may cause drowsiness. Do not operate car. Some warning labels make sense, sort of. Like the one on a wheelbarrow that says, not intended for highway use. Or the one on the collapsible baby stroller that says, remove child before folding. But there are others that are just odd. Like the one on Apple's website that says, do not eat the iPod Shuffle. Or the one on the package of Christmas lights that says, for indoor or outdoor use only. Or, and this is my favorite, on a Boeing 757, do not drop. And keep in mind that every time you find one of these warning labels on something, it is there because somebody already did that very thing. And the company got sued for not telling them not to do that. I really, really want to know who dropped that Boeing 757. I just realized, while I was saying that none of these are exactly writing advice. And so, although if you're bleeding from the eyes or have been eaten by a shark or have died from a rabid bat bite, it tends to hamper your writing ability a little bit. So, but still, I suppose I should give you some writing advice. So, I still don't understand. Why aren't you people taking notes on this stuff? Number 1, don't tell anybody you're working on a novel. If you do, people will immediately ask you, are you done with that novel yet? Or, aren't you done with that novel yet? And when you finally, after years and years of work and people asking this, finish the novel and it comes out, and you go to your very first signing, they will immediately ask, when's the next novel coming out? The problem is even worse if you are writing a trilogy. So, piece of writing advice number 2 is never write a trilogy. Piece of writing advice number 3, always use the Oxford comma. Period. Well, actually, comma. If you don't use the Oxford comma, you will end up writing sentences like, this book is dedicated to my parents, Jane Austen and the Pope. And Terry Bisson enjoys hunting, eating barbecued ribs, and children. Plus, you could end up paying a truckload of money to somebody, like the Oakhurst Dairy did. They got sued by their drivers because a state law failed to put an Oxford comma in their contract, in the state law, and about who had to be paid overtime pay, and they ended up having to pay a cool $10 million because they did not have an Oxford comma. There are, of course, I understand, 2 sides to every grammatical issue like this. And the 2 sides in this case are the people who tell you to use the Oxford comma are correct, and the people who tell you not to are idiots. And finally, and this is the most important piece of advice I can give you, if you are nominated for the Locus Award, always write an acceptance speech. Even if you don't think you have a prayer of winning. You probably don't. I speak from experience on this. But if you do win, and you don't have a speech, you will stutter and stammer and ah, and nobody will believe that you are actually a writer. And you will end up saying something stupid, or worse, inflammatory. And it will go viral. And you will become a hashtag. And your reputation will be ruined forever. Luckily, everyone so far tonight has avoided that fate. But we still have a bunch of awards to come. So if you are a nominee and you have not written an acceptance speech, leave the room right now. Go to the bathroom and write one on a sheet of toilet paper or something. We'll wait. Okay. All right. Good. Back to the awards. Thank you.
Oh, good. Here's a spare banana, now it's mine. It really is mine now. Okay, well, thank you, Connie. Can we get another round of applause for Connie? About vampire repellent. Up next for the Locus Awards, we have the award for short story. A short story is like an amuse-bouche from an accomplished chef, which is to say, something only the disciplined and talented can accomplish, because we demand all the complexity and depth of an entree, but in just one bite. Tonight, we celebrate 10 short stories plucked from the thousands published this year. These authors have completed the magic trick and have sated our hunger with a single artfully presented spoonful. Here are the nominees for the Locus Award for Short Story.
The finalists for the Best Short Story are Give Me English by I. Jang, The Goldfish Man by Maureen McHugh, Rabbit Test by Samantha Mills, Dick Pig by Ian Munishwar, Master of Ceremonies by Francis Ogamba, Beginnings by Christina Ten, The Coward Who Stole God's Name by John Wiswell, DIY by John Wiswell, Inheritance by Hannah Yang, A Monster in the Shape of a Boy by Hannah Yang.
And the winner for the Locus Award for Short Story is Rabbit Test.
You made me go after Connie Willis. I did make notes. I just wanted to say, oh, let me see my face for a second. This story came
to me at a very difficult time. We were at full pandemic swing. I was coping with tragedy in my personal life, and I couldn't stop reading the news, which felt like it was getting worse and worse each day. It came together like this fever dream over the course of a month in which I couldn't focus on anything else, and I just had to get it out. So if there's one thing I've taken from it, it's write the thing you can't stop thinking about. Write the thing that's so bound up in the current moment that you're living that you might as well slap the date on the bottom and sign off. Just write it. So thank you again to Lynn and Michael, Damien, Thomas, and all the crew at Uncanny. Thank you to everyone who took time to sit down with the awesome Locus reading list this year and vote, everyone who shared it, everyone who sent a kind comment, and everyone at Locus. I'm in great company this year, and it means the world. Thank you.
The award for novelette. While I was preparing for tonight, I was very tempted to make a joke about the seemingly arbitrary differences between the novelette and novella categories. Like, what's the deal with word counts? What a disservice that would have been. Because the novelette size chasm that opens between short stories and novellas is a wide one, in which we are given the time and space we might crave from a short story and the streamlining we might yearn for from a novella. Novelettes are a gentle balancing act of room and restraint. The nominees for the Locus Award for novelette are
the finalists for the Locus Award for Best Novelette are If You Find Yourself Speaking to God, Address God with the Informal You by John Chu. Two Hands Wrapped in Gold by S.B. Divya. Incident at Bear Creek Lodge by Tananarive Due. Solidity by Greg Egan. The Six Deaths of the Saint by Alex E. Harrow. In Mercy, Rain by Shannon McGuire. Falling Off the Edge of the World by Suzanne Palmer. The Sadness Box by Suzanne Palmer. A Dream of Electric Mothers by Wole Talabe. The Difference Between Love and Time by Catherine M. Valente.
And the Locus Award for novelette goes to If You Find Yourself Speaking to God, Address God with the Informal You by John Chu from Uncanny Magazine.
When that I was a little tiny boy with hey-ho, the wind and the rain, a foolish thing was but a toy for the rain, it raineth every day. But when I came to man's estate with hey-ho, the wind and the rain, 'gainst knaves and thieves men shut their gates, for the rain, it raineth every day. But when I came, alas, to wive with hey-ho, the wind and the rain, by swaggering could I never thrive, for the rain, it raineth every day. But when I came unto my beds with hey-ho, the wind and the rain, with tosspots still had drunken heads, for the rain, it raineth every day. A great while ago the world begun, with hey-ho, the wind and the rain, but that's all one, our play is done, and we'll strive to please you every day. Thank you to Michael Damien Thomas, Lynn Marie Thomas, and everyone at Uncanny for publishing the story. Congratulations to my fellow finalists. It is a pleasure and honor to be with you in your company. Thank you, everyone, for this award. Thank you so much.
Up next, we have novella. I've heard it said that novellas are the form of the future. That with our minds constantly running algorithms for social media, our in real life lives, and a laundry list of our own personal neuroses, that novellas are what we can most realistically demand of the contemporary reader. I don't know if that's strictly true, while our nominated novels tonight surely complicate the matter, but I do know that the novella form lends itself to posing some of the most fruitful and enduring questions fiction has asked of me, about personhood and morality, grief, and power. To present the nominees for the Locus Award for the novella is Locus Editor-in-Chief Liza Groom-Tromby.
Okay, first up, novella. Love novella, right? They're just like the perfect size. Okay, let's see who's up.
The finalists for Best Novella are A Prayer for the Crown Shy by Becky Chambers, Of Charms, Ghosts, and Grievances by Aliette de Bodard, Servant Mage by Kate Elliott, Bishop's Opening by R.S.A. Garcia, A Mirror Mended by Alex E. Harrow, Even Though I Knew the End by C. L. Polk, Tread of Angels by Rebecca Roanhorse, High Times in the Low Parliament by Kelly Robeson, Ogres by Adrian Tchaikovsky, Into the Riverlands by Nevo.
I think one of those quotation marks is backwards. Does anyone have a red pen? Terrible. Okay, here we go. Whose idea was this? Envelopes. Okay, here we go. And the winner is A Prayer for the Crown Shy by Becky Chambers.
Hi, I'm Lee Harris, and I'm Becky Chambers' editor on her Monk and Robot series. Unfortunately, Becky's unable to send a message for today's celebrations, and so it's down to me. Now, from her very first book, Becky's characters and world building displayed a proficiency that more established authors could only hope to achieve. She's since delighted readers across the world with her lighter, more hopeful vision of the future. In these oft-troubled times, Becky's words are a welcome distraction from the horrors around us. It's no wonder her readers love her work so much. It's 5 years since I commissioned Becky to write something, and when she agreed to write 2 novellas for me, neither of us knew at the time what those novellas would turn out to be. Fast forward a couple of years before the first, A Prayer for the Crown Shy, was delivered. A gentle, post-utopian tale about friendship and tea and the wonders of the world. The Monk and Robot books have earned multiple award nominations, including a Hugo win last year for Psalm for the Wild-Built. And having the second book win a Locus Award is a tremendous honour, especially when you look at the quality of Becky's fellow nominees. So thank you to everyone who nominated and voted for A Prayer for the Crown Shy. It's always an honour to win the Locus Award. Thank you.
What do you say to someone who ran their first marathon? What do you say to someone who not only ran their first marathon, but also ran it so well that they made it to the top 10 runners in the race? Well, think it over, then get ready to slide into some DMs or shake some hands tonight. And give your kudos to these debut authors who are nominated for first novel. And as a former first novel Locus Award finalist, I just like to say, run. I'm kidding. Unless you have a really high-paying job, in which case I am dead serious. What I'd actually like to say is, you did it. You should be proud. Let yourself enjoy this moment. To present the nominees and the Locus Award for first novel is Liza.
Okay, best first novel. I love first novels. It's just exciting. You just never know what the potential, or sometimes it's somebody who's been writing short fiction for a long time and they're kind of like put long form, and for me it's an exciting category. So let's see what we've got over there.
The finalists for the Locus Award for Best First Novel are Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldry, The Hacienda by Isabel Cañas, The Book Eaters by Sunyi Dean, The Bruising of Kilwa by Nassim Jamnia, The Ballad of Perilous Graves by Alex Jennings, The Unbalancing by R.B. Lemberg, The Bone Orchard by Sarah A. Mueller, How High We Go in the Dark by Sequoia Nagamatsu, The Mountain in the Sea by Ray Naylor, The Genesis of Misery by Neon Yang.
Best first novel. Very exciting. I mean, they're all amazing. That's a great list. Okay, here we go. The first novel Locus Award goes to The Mountain in the Sea by Ray Miller.
Thank you. Thank you so much to Locus and your amazing staff and all of the readers who voted for The Mountain in the Sea for this award. Thank you to Sean McDonald, my publisher, who brought The Mountain in the Sea into the world, and to Seth Fishman, my agent, without whom none of this would be possible. And a special thanks, of course, to Anna Kuznetsova, my wife, and to Lydia, our 4-year-old daughter, without whom none of this would be worth it. Thank you so much.
Okay, up next we have young adults. I'd go out on a limb and say that for most of us, recalling our teenage years fills us with discomfort and that secondhand embarrassment for a version of you that no longer exists. And so often, many of us brush those memories aside and forget entirely those formative, fragile years of our lives. And that's our loss. But luckily, the young adult genre is here to remind us of those incredibly low lows and also those achingly high highs. And even if our fashion choices in our adolescence were absolutely cringe, we would all do well to remember the other aspects of those years. The clarity with which we parse right and wrong. The arduousness of forming our own story of ourselves for ourselves. The authors in this category still do that work on spaceships and in castles. They help us come of age again and again. The nominees for the Locus Award for Young Adult Novel are
The finalists for the Locus Award for Best Young Adult Novel are Dreams Bigger Than Heartbreak by Charlie Jane Anders, The Scratch Daughters by H.A. Clarke, Blood Marked by Tracy Dion, The Kindred by Alicia Dow, Bitter by Akweke Emezi, Unraveler by Frances Harding, Rust in the Root by Justina Ireland, Lake Lore by Anna Marie McLemore, Ballad and Dagger by Daniel Jose Older, An Arrow to the Moon by Emily X.R. Pan.
And the winner of the Locus Award for Young Adult Fiction is Dreams Bigger Than Heartbreak.
So glad I finally get to be here in person for one of these. Thanks for doing this in the Bay Area, y'all. Okay. Hang on one second. Ooh, this is so exciting. Oh my god. Thank you so much. This means so much to me. I am so grateful to Locus Magazine and the whole Locus community. I'm so glad that Locus is still here. It's such a wonderful magazine, and y'all are such a wonderful community, and I'm so grateful to be a part of it. So Dreams Bigger Than Heartbreak is a book about learning to face up to ugly realities and managing to stay creative in the midst of utter horror and darkness. In the book, Rachel loses her ability to make art after she encounters an alien artifact, and Elsa is seeking the ability to witness every terrible thing in the universe. And it's a lot. It's about facing up to darkness and keeping going. It is also a book about unapologetic queer joy and celebrating all of our differences. I wish that those themes were not more necessary now than when I wrote the book, but here we are. Just in the last few months, we have reached the point where trans people are fleeing states that have enacted laws banning our very right to exist, and so many of us are having our personhood and bodily autonomy called into question. And to quote from one of my characters in the book, any art that you can make in the face of sorrow is good art. I set out to write a fun, goofy space opera, but then I had to make it super gay because we need extravagant queerness to help us get through everything right now. So I want to thank my editor, Miriam Weinberg, my agent, sorry, I'm nervous, my editor, Miriam Weinberg, my agent, Russ Galen. Please do not tell Miriam I called her Miriam Russ, and she might think it was funny, but Joanna Russ's daughter. I mean, it's a huge secret in the publishing industry. So Miriam Weinberg, my agent, Russ Galen, Ceresia Fennell, Issa Caban, so many people at Tor Teen and the whole Tor publishing family. I'd like to thank Maggie Fukuda Hall for giving me so much feedback on this book and being such an incredible inspiration to me as a YA writer. There's so many other people I want to thank, but I especially want to thank my partner, Annalie Newitz, who is my greatest source of queer joy and who is the person who makes me want to write and live better stories always. Thank you so much.
What Goes Bump in the Night? The nominees for horror novel, not two. Here we have caskets and slashers, spooky murder basements and incarceration camps, creepy carnivals, icy highways, amnesia, blood gods, unforgiving deserts, monsters of all kinds, and bunny rabbits. Really creepy bunny rabbits. Horror invites us to look at our deepest fears in the eye, to dabble in the profane and dance with the macabre. No one knows us better than horror. No one can see us in all our truth and weaknesses and fear like horror can. And by extension, the authors who are brave enough to peer under the bed and name what lurks. Here are the nominees for the Locus Award for horror.
The finalists for the Locus Award for Best Horror Novel are Saturnalia by Stephanie Feldman, Just Like Home by Sarah Gailey, Road of Bones by Christopher Golden, The Devil Take You Home by Gabino Iglesias, The Fervor by Alma Katsu, Gwendy's Final Task by Stephen King and Richard Chismar, What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher, Echo by Thomas Olde Heuvelt, No Gods for Drowning by Haley Piper, The Pallbearers Club by Paul Tremblay, Sundial by Catriona Ward.
And the winner for the Locus Award for horror novel goes to What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher of Nightfire Organic. Unfortunately, T. Kingfisher couldn't be here tonight, and so there are some prepared remarks which I will read to you now, so just pretend that I am T. Kingfisher. If you're reading this, it means that What Moves the Dead has won a Locus Award. Wow, did not expect that. Thank you so much, everyone. I'm enormously honored that the Easton and their friends found their way into such company as this. The other nominees are as amazing a list of authors as anyone could hope for, and I'm very proud to stand alongside you. Not long after What Moves the Dead came out, an interviewer asked me if I wasn't nervous about taking on an author as great as Poe and a story as famous as The Fall of the House of Usher. And I hadn't been, until that moment. Then I thought, whoa, maybe I should be more worried about that. But honestly, all the same, all I was thinking was that the narrator of Usher is one of the most useless friends of all of horror. Seriously, your buddy's dead sister walks into the room. He screams and falls down. She screams and falls down. And instead of checking anyone for a pulse, you scream and run out of the house, which then falls down. No attempts to pull anyone from the rubble, no calling a doctor, just so useless. So I decided to fix that. And also to write about creepy rabbits, because, sorry, I didn't mean to take that joke, because you can never really go wrong with a creepy rabbit. Anyway, I've got to thank my agent Helen and my editors Lindsay and Kelly and the whole crew at Nightfire, and most especially the crew at Locus. Thank you all so much, and I hope everybody has a great evening. And that if your ancestral home is falling down, your friends are not nearly so useless. Okay, we're getting there. Up next we have fantasy novel. I love fantasy. not just because I love dragons and magic and monsters and fairy tales. All of that doesn't hurt. I love fantasy because it invites me to question everything I understand about my own world and all its boring, plodding reality. And in so doing, to imbue it and me with all that ineffable wonder. So often fantasy is an entreaty to be curious, because what is imagination if not curiosity spiraling out like an unfurling fractal? And so, to all our nominees tonight, thank you for your work in making this, our cruelest timeline, a more survivable place. To present the nominees and the Locus Award winner for fantasy novel is the perfect, the legendary, the national treasure and vagina candle enthusiast, Connie Curtis.
The finalists for the Locus Award for Best Fantasy Novel are The Grief of Stones by Catherine Addison, When Women Were Dragons by Kelly Barnhill, Spear by Nicola Griffith, The World We Make by N.K. Jemisin, Nettle and Bone by T. Kingfisher, Babel by R.F. Kwong, Nona the Ninth by Tamsin Muir, The Golden Enclaves by Naomi Novik, Fevered Star by Rebecca Rowanhorse, Siren Queen by Nevo.
Okay, and the winner for Best Fantasy Novel is Babel by R.F. Kwong.
Thank you all so much for this honor. Babel is a novel about collective action and the power of strikes. There's a writer's strike going on right now, so don't cross the picket line, support the union, and have a wonderful night.
Okay, the next award is for Best Science Fiction Novel. The science fiction novel has been around since the days of Frankenstein and the Time Machine, and has always been essential to the science fiction field. It's dealt with space adventures in books like Robert Heinlein's Half Space Will Travel and Lois McMaster Bugeaud's Orca Segan novels, alien civilizations like Anne McCaffrey's Dragonflight and Frank Herbert's Dune, techno-futures like William Gibson's Neuromancer and Philip K. Dick's Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, dystopias like George Orwell's 1984 and Paolo Bacigalupi's The Wind-Up Girl, and every other theme from AI to alien invasion to time travel. And it's given us works by writers like Ursula Le Guin, N.K. Jemisin, Frederick Pohl, Terry Pratchett, Joe Haldeman, Naomi Novik, Rebecca Roanhorse, and Neil Gaiman. Tonight's winner of the Best Science Fiction Novel will join that amazing group of award-winning novelists. The nominees for Best Science Fiction Novel are...
The finalists for the Locus Award for Best Science Fiction Novel are Sweep of Stars by Maurice Broaddus, The Red Scholar's Wake by Aliette de Bodard, The Spare Man by Mary Robinette Kowal, Sea of Tranquility by Emily St. John Mandel, The Daughter of Dr. Moreau by Sylvia Moreno Garcia, Goliath by Tochi Onyebuchi, The Kaiju Preservation Society by John Scalzi, Eyes of the Void by Adrian Tchaikovsky, Neom by Lavi Tidhar, Eversion by Alistair Reynolds.
And the winner for Best Science Fiction Novel is The Kaiju Preservation Society by John Scalzi.
It's called Kaiju Preservation.
Hang on, we're going to get this right.
So once upon a time, there was a book, and it was called Kaiju Preservation Society. And it was just walking down the street like you do. When all of a sudden, it saw a Locus Award. And it said, "Excuse me, but aren't you the Locus Award? One of America's foremost awards for science fiction, fantasy, and horror?" And the Locus Award said, "Why, yes, in fact I am. And I am here to tell you that you have just won a Locus Award." And the Kaiju Preservation Society was shocked. "I can't believe it," the Kaiju Preservation Society said. "There are so many good finalists this year. It can't possibly be that I won." And the Locus Award said, "Well, yeah, you did. So go ahead and make an acceptance speech." And the Kaiju Preservation Society said, There are so many people to thank that they couldn't possibly do it all in the time allotted. So instead of a normal acceptance speech, I'm going to do an interpretive dance. Dun, 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 dun. Thank you.
So that concludes our evening. We would like to thank all of our volunteers and our sponsors, Reed Hoffman, Cal Henderson, Craig Network Philanthropies, the East Bay Fantasy and Science Fiction writers, the Afro-Surrealist writers, Shweta and Ashwani Sharma, Kate Ristow and Colin Coyle for technical advice, Dave Clark at Cargo Cult Books, thank you Dave, Preservation Park for this beautiful venue, all our panelists and readers, and everyone else who helped out in ways large and small. And I have one last thing to say. I made a mistake before when I said the most important thing you should do is write your acceptance speech for a Locus Award. That is pretty important. But the most important thing you need to do is read Locus, subscribe to Locus, donate to Locus, and come join us next year again for the Locus Awards Day.
Well, we did it. We survived another year of the Locus Awards. Congratulations to all of us. But mostly, congratulations to tonight's winners. Can we get another round of applause for all of them? It's a wild time to celebrate. It's kind of a hard time to celebrate. The Writers Guild of America is on strike. It's Pride Weekend in a year marked by unprecedented attacks on LGBTQ rights all across the country. Tech firms continue to rocket AI into use despite the fact that we've proven time and time again that our collective ingenuity has far outstripped our collective ethics. Fascism has raised its hideous head once again, intent on another go at history. More and more, our work is devalued, outsourced, plagiarized, and belittled by a market defined by amoral oligarchs. Also, the planet is on fire, and I'll be honest, in the war of humans versus the natural world, I am rooting for the orcas. But maybe that's why now is the perfect time to celebrate. Maybe that's why affirming the work of the human imagination is not just a fun enterprise, but a necessary one. There aren't infinite people in the world invested in creation for the sole sake of pleasure and enrichment. Obviously, we all know that books are not fertile ground for getting rich quick. And yet here we all are. Some have been in this industry for decades. Some have just joined us. Maybe the fact that the industry has continued to sustain practitioners and find new ones at all is reason enough to celebrate. History may be written by the victorious, but fiction is written by the brave. For all our lives, C-suite assholes have been telling us that we cannot have anything without them, that they are the sole arbiters of what can and should exist. But the truth is, they can't make anything of value without us. They can't even imagine anything of value without us. And so it is incumbent upon us to remind them that their spaceships and their submersibles, their robots and their virtual reality headsets were all imagined by people like us in the first place. That those were not their ideas, that they needed to stand on our shoulders to get there, and that they weren't even wise enough plagiarists to heed the warnings about what these advancements could mean. That our voices cannot and will not be smoothed down into shapes they find more palatable. That we saw them quickly assemble empty gestures at pride campaigns and Juneteenth mugs and disassemble them just as quickly when a spattering of bigots gave them an excuse. That we will not accept privilege that does not extend to our trans, Black, and Indigenous, migrant, and survival job working siblings. Because we know that our solidarity is more dangerous to them than any gun. That collectively we are mighty. That there are more of us than there are of them. And that should make them very afraid. Let us never forget to hold them accountable. Let us be the ones who give them the nightmares of what their downfalls will look like when they entirely abandon their humanity, empathy, and morality for the sake of profits or political expediency. Let us name their sins for the future to audit and imagine what the world will look like without their seemingly indelible power. Let us be the ones who liberate the imaginations that will ultimately see their influence eradicated, the harm they've done minimized, and their names relegated to the footnotes of history where they belong. And let us celebrate each other all along the way. Hold each other up in a world that would see us brought to our knees. To lift up each other's voices and to value each other. We are the few, we are the nerdy, we are the brave. Congratulations to you all, and cheers again to this year's Locus Award winners. Can we please have all of our presenters and nominees come back on stage so that we can all clap for you guys and finish up this night.